guys, I am here making challah today, and challah is a delicious eggy bread that we eat on Shabbat and on holidays. It takes a little bit of time, but hey, we've all got lots of time right now, right? So it's fun, it's gonna make your house smell amazing. So what I'm doing right now is in my bowl is 3 3/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And to that, I am going to add 1 3/4 cups of lukewarm water, so not cold, not hot, somewhere in the middle. All right, so that's gonna go in. And now to kick the process up a little bit, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. That's gonna give the yeast something to do while it is proofing and blooming and starting to get all of its delicious yeasty goodness. So I'm going to give it a quick stir, and then it is going to sit for 5 minutes while it blooms. 5 minutes have elapsed, and as you can see, all of this here, that is the yeast that has eaten the sugar and is fully activated. So we are going to continue with our building of the dough. This is 1/2 cup of oil. I'm using vegetable oil, which is very mild. If you wanted it to have a little bit of a more fruity, flavorful taste, you could use olive oil, but I like to use vegetable oil because it doesn't taste like anything, and I think that makes the taste of the challah really come through. All right, so we are combining the oil into this, and now I am going to add my eggs one at a time. So here, this is 4 large eggs. I pre-cracked them so that I could be ready. So now we're gonna whisk them in one at a time. Here we go. When I was a kid, I used to make challah with my bubby pretty frequently. She always let me do all of the braiding, and I wasn't very good at it because I was little, but she still let me do it. And I'm hoping that one of my kids will come and do the braiding when we get to that stage today. And they now make challah with their grandparents, my parents, at the high holidays, and it's one of their favorite things to do. And this is just a fun time to spend as a family. You can see the quarantine is getting to my son a little bit. All right, 2 more eggs to go. All right, one at a time with these eggs. And I'm not worrying about the yeast right now. It's been activated. I'm not worried about being rough on it at all. So I just am mixing those eggs in, and that's what's going to give the bread that really delicious richness that challah is known for, and that makes it different from regular sandwich bread. All right, got to get that last egg mixed in. Okay, now I'm going to add the rest of my sugar and my salt. So to this now is going to get 1/2 cup of sugar and a tablespoon of salt. All right, 1/2 cup of sugar. All right, so I am adding my salt. I'm using table salt. I suppose you could use kosher salt if that's what you have in your house, but you don't want to use too big of a grain because you want the salt to blend in with everything else. Okay. So the sugar and salt go in. Now that gets mixed together. Now we've got all of our wet ingredients, just sort of mixing it around to make sure there isn't large clumps of sugar sitting on the bottom, sort of getting that all together. And now we are going to build the dough. Now, how much flour you need, it's not an exact science. So The total for these 2 loaves together is supposed to be somewhere between 8 and 8.5 cups, but I'm not just gonna dump 8 cups in there and then see how it goes. I'm gonna do a little at a time, mixing. What I'm really looking for is the dough to hold together. So right now I've got, just a pile of wet ingredients. I'm gonna start adding my dry ingredients, and then we will see the consistency. It may take 8, it may take 8 1/4, it may take 7 1/2. We'll play it by ear. It really depends each time you make the dough what's going on. So what I'm gonna do is use 1 cup of whole wheat flour, and all the rest is going to be all-purpose white flour. Doing that because my husband suggested adding a little wheat flour in. Do you want to say why? No, he doesn't want to say why. I think it's because it will make the dough a little more tender and also give it a little more body, I guess. All right, here we go. 1 cup. 2 cups. 3 cups. 4 cups, and now I'm gonna mix a little. So I'm 4 cups in. Help me remember that, 4 cups. All right, now what I'm trying to do is just get everything wet. I'm just expecting this to still have a really loose consistency because this is about half of what I'm anticipating it taking. So when I said before that, challah has this reputation as taking a really long time, but a lot of the time is inactive while we're waiting for it to rise. So there's a lot of time to go and do other things. So it's an all-day activity, but if you're in the house for a while, you can go help your kids with their homework, put a load of laundry in, go for a walk around the block. You don't have to sit in the kitchen the whole time. Okay, so this is still a wet and soggy mess. 4 cups of flour, we're gonna do 2 more. So this is cup number 5. And here comes cup number 6. All right, and we mix again. Now, my grandmother, my bubby, would have done this with a wooden spoon, but I don't have a wooden spoon, so I am using a spatula instead. Okay, so now we're starting to get somewhere. The dough is still really wet. It's not holding together all the way yet, but we are getting there. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're at 6 cups of flour. I'm gonna start adding the 7th cup. I'm gonna stir it around just a little bit more, and now I can really feel that it's starting to hold together. And I still have to do the kneading, so I'm not gonna worry too much about this flour getting super incorporated. What I'm going to do is turn it out and have it start kneading. I need to knead it until it is smooth. I'm gonna be adding a little bit more flour during that process. So here we go, I'm gonna put a little flour down on my surface. All right, here it goes. Okay. So now I'm gonna start to knead, which is basically like a turn and fold. And we'll see it coming together. We want it to get nice and smooth and shiny. We're also developing gluten at this point, which is what's gonna give the dough structure and lift, make it not like a cake. All right, and this feels good. So what I'm doing now is just turn and fold, pushing on it a little bit. I'm not being super tough with it. I just am letting it kind of come together. You can see that it's still absorbing the flour. It's not sticky. I think this was the right amount of flour to add for today. Maybe it's because, I had the dishwasher on, or who knows, but this is with the flour that it's taking today. Okay. I want to knead it until it feels smooth. Okay, so I have been kneading for a little bit, and I have finally gotten it so that it is not sticky anymore, so it's nice and smooth on the outside. What I'm going to do now, I rinsed out my bowl so that it's clean. I didn't, just sort of made sure that it was nice and clean on the inside. I'm going to put a little oil in here so that it's nice and greased. You also could use a paper towel with vegetable oil if you want. Put that in here. And then the top gets plastic wrap or a tea towel, and then it's going to rise for about an hour someplace warm. For me, my someplace warm is my oven set to off with the oven light on. That's my warm spot. So we'll see you in about an hour. Okay, it is a little more than an hour later. We can see that the dough is much larger than it was before. What I'm going to do now is just punch it down, and then it's going to rise again. For this rise, if I was going to put it back in my off but oven light on warm oven, then it would be about half an hour. But what I'm going to do is put it in the fridge and let it sit there for about 2 hours. It will rise slower, but the longer time will also increase the flavor a little bit. Also gives me time to make dinner now. So here we go. I'm going to punch it down. So you can see that it just starts to deflate. I'm not trying to be too terribly crazy with it. I'm just getting it to deflate a little bit. All right. That looks good. We'll see you in a few hours. Okay, so this has been in the fridge for 2.5 hours. It rose very nicely. It is certainly more than doubled. So what we're gonna do now is take it out and braid it. So this is gonna make 2 loaves. I'm going to do one with raisins and one plain. The first thing I'm gonna do is get it out of the bowl. Right? And then I am going to take a knife and cut it in half, and I will do the plain one first. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a 4-strand braid and a 6-strand braid. So we'll do the 4-strand braid first. So I'm going to take the dough, divide it into half, and then divide each of those so that I have 4 about equal pieces. And then what I'm going to do is roll them into nice long logs. So, and you'll see that the dough is kind of springing back. I want them to be about the same length, and I want them to be long enough that I can work with them easily. I also don't want them to be thicker at the ends. I want them to be a little bit thicker in the middle than they are at the ends. All right, so there's one. I'm going to do 3 more, and then we'll go to the next. And now for the braiding. For a 4-strand braid, the easiest way to do it is to go over, under, over. So you're going to kind of loosely pinch the tops together. I'm not pinching them tightly because I may go back and braid them a little bit more, but this will get me started. So I always start from the right, over, and then under the next one, and then over the last one. And do that same process again. Over, under, over. And then that same process again. Over, under, over. One more time. Over, under, over. And keep going that way. Over, under, over. Over, under, over. And now I've kind of reached the end, and what I'm going to do is just tuck all 4 of these together. I'm just making a big pinch, and I'm going to tuck it right underneath. Now I'm going to flip the whole thing over. Remember how I said I didn't do these too tight before? Do the same thing going this way. Over, under, over. Over, under, over. All right, and again I've kind of reached the bottom. So I'm just going to pinch and tuck. And there you have it, a beautiful 4-strand braid. Now this I'm going to lift up and put on my pan. You can grease this if you don't have parchment paper. You just want to make sure that the dough isn't going to stick. Now that's just gonna hang out. Now this one we are going to do with raisins. You can also do chocolate chips. You could put sprinkles, some people put in there. You can do really anything that you want. I'm gonna do raisins because I like the flavor that raisins bring, and I also like the little extra moisture that they bring. So putting the raisins in, just kind of folding and kneading the dough a little bit. So this is half a cup of raisins, by the way, that I soaked for a little bit in hot water. Now I am just gonna fold, knead the dough a couple times, try to get the raisins to be all interspersed. I want them everywhere so that when we are making the dough, we end up with raisins all throughout the challah. You can see that as I'm turning it, they're starting to appear, and that's what we want. So I folded it in kind of 3 or 4 layers, but now we want to spread that out. Make sure that we don't have one section that's all raisins and one other section that doesn't have any. Here is our lovely dough. We have kneaded in the raisins, and now we're going to do a 6-strand braid. So the first thing you need to do is make 6 pieces. All right, when you look through it, look, you can see, once I cut all the way through it, that the raisins have made it all the way into the dough, and I'm going to further help disperse them when I cut each of these halves into 3 pieces. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now, same process as before. I'm going to roll these into the 6-strand braid. We're going to do the same thing that we did last time, just sort of push the ends together. And now what we're going to do, always starting from the right, over 2, under 1, over 2. Seems like a lot, but don't worry, it will work out. Same thing, starting from the right, over 2, under 1, and over 2. We're going to do that again. Over 2, under 1, over 2. It's getting a little bit tight, but it'll be fine. I think we can get one more. Over 2, under 1, over 2. Now I'm going to pinch this end together and tuck it under. I'm going to switch this around, and we're going to be able to get one more from this side. Ready? Always starting from the right. You go over 2, under 1, and over 2. All right, you're going to smush those together, flip it under, kind of give it a little tuck so it can move up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now, here it goes onto the rack. These are going to get an egg wash, which is 1 whole egg and a little bit of water whisked together. Then they're going to rise for an hour with the egg wash on. Then we will egg wash again and bake. So stay tuned. Now we are doing the egg wash now. And this, you want to get a nice coat all over. If you don't have a pastry brush, don't worry, you can just use your fingers. Wash your hands before and after. What this is going to do is give a beautiful coat. It will allow the dough to get golden brown while we're baking. And this recipe calls for the egg wash to happen twice. So we're doing it once now, and then it's going to rise for an hour, and then we're going to do it again right before it goes in the oven. Here we are. The rise is done. They've been rising for an hour, just sitting on the kitchen counter. I just put the second egg wash on them, and they are about to go into the oven. Okay, we'll see these again in about 30 to 45 minutes. The chalot have come out of the oven. My house smells incredible. It took about 35 minutes to bake these 2 beautiful chalot. As you can see, they still expanded and rose a little bit more in the oven. We are going to give this one to loved ones and eat the one with the raisins tomorrow night at Shabbat. I hope that you have enjoyed taking this time and watching the video of me making challah. I miss everybody at the J. I hope you all are doing well. I can't wait to see you again soon. If you liked this video, please like and share. That's what my son's YouTubers all say, so I thought I'd say it too. If there's anything else that you want to see me make on camera, I'd love to. I love to bake, so happy to share another recipe with everyone if you want to tell me what you want to see. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I hope that we can see you again soon. Shabbat Shalom.